Hey guys, Saf here with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today I'm excited to be doing a champion guide on Wight King Narses. We're going to be focusing on PvP exclusively in this video. I will probably do another video specifically looking at him in PvE areas and what you can do with his partner. That will be more of a spotlight on Ankora with Narses more than Narses itself, because they do come as kind of a package in their own rights and they do different things. But in this video, we are going to be looking exclusively at Wight King Narses. We're going to look at how you can build him, how you should approach using him, what kind of teams is he going to be successful against, and what type of teams is he going to struggle against, and all the intricacies and nuances around him. We will obviously put a bit of a comparison with Taras the Fierce. He would be the obvious comparison, as both of them are HP based champions. And then I'm going to do a bit of arena fighting here so you can see how it's going to work. So if you saved up your voids and you've got your guaranteed void legendary here, you'll have Wight King Narses. He is a Knight Revenant, he is legendary, and he is HP based. Now it's important to understand straight away. The one question that I've seen a lot of people ask me is, does his damage work similarly to Taras the Fierce? Taras the Fierce, without you knowing in game, technically works differently. Even though they both state that they are HP based damage dealers, there is quite a significant difference, right? We can see this guy says he is HP as well. The difference is the HP value that is used in the multiplier for Taras is called B_HP. It's the HP that you get when you enter battle, which means that if your HP is destroyed from maximum HP destruction, it doesn't change the damage output. Equally, if Togron the Conjoined is an Ogryn, if you don't know who Togron the Conjoined is, we'll just have a little bit of a preview of his passive here. Togron the Conjoined is one of the unique champions that can increase his team's maximum HP. Well, Taras will not benefit from that. However, in the case of Narses, he is not B_HP, so Taras remains the only HP-based damage dealer that uses HP at the start of battle. So that does mean Narses will lose damage if he loses maximum HP, so something to consider. But he's a HP-based damage dealer. We have an A1 Corruption Scepter. Attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of randomly increasing the cooldown of one of the target skills, which can't be resisted if you have Ankora. It goes to a 50%. This is kind of an okay ability. It's kind of nice if you bring like the Masteries for counterattacking. Like if you bring those types of Masteries in, it can be a nice little advantage to either kill off an enemy or put some of the supportive units cooldowns, because obviously you don't need to build accuracy on it. So resistance is not really going to help the Duchesses, the Siffies, the Elvas, the Ultimate Death Knights when it comes to that. So it's quite useful. Although at a 50% chance, it's not always like guaranteed. Then we have what really makes this champion a big deal. Desecration Blast. He's going to attack all enemies. He's going to ignore 25% of the defense base in the skill. He's going to then attack twice if they're under shield or strengthen. And on his passive here, the last sentence of his passive is really important. This champion, all of his abilities will ignore shields and strengthen, meaning he won't consume the shield. When you have an effect that ignores shields, it literally does damage below the shield line. So the first attack will deal damage. If it's still alive, there's a shield still there. It doesn't take it from the shield first, which means that this ability here will always hit twice if there's a shield or a strengthen up on the target. There's some nuances here. Strengthen also counts for the Minotaur. The Minotaur buff counts as a double hit. He seems to be hitting twice in Hydra and other areas as well. I'm not really sure what that is all about. There's some weird stuff going on. That could be a bug. But certainly does work against things like the Minotaur passive. It's double hitting. Now we've got this paragraph here, and this has caused some confusion. I'm going to explain it as clearly as I can. Damage inflicted by this skill cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or masteries, except those of the boss. And equally, damage inflicted by the skill cannot be increased by either this champion's masteries or allied passive skills when attacking bosses. Now, this has led to some confusion. What does it mean by enemy passive skills or masteries? Well, it's talking about things that can multiply the damage up or multiply the damage down. This means things like Rotus passive. That is coded as a damage multiplication. It halves the amount of damage that you have. So it multiplies the incoming damage by 0.5 effectively. That will not work when he uses his abilities. He will go through the Rotus passive and Rotus will die. He won't get that extra turn that he normally does. However, when it comes to effects such as ignore defense, that is not a multiplication of the damage. That is an adjustment of the value of defense, right? So when an enemy has 4,000 defense, if I ignore half of it, then it effectively has 2,000 defense. It doesn't work exactly like that, but that's kind of like the concept you can take into it. It's not physically multiplying the final damage. It's changing how much the enemy will reduce the damage. So it's completely different, which means Helm Smasher will work with this ability. It's a mastery, but it's not a damage reduction mastery. It's not a damage increasing mastery. The things that will not work are things like single out. That will not work. Things like the 5% bonus damage when you're at full HP. That will also not work. Those are the masteries that are not going to work by this ability because they are a damage multiplication effect. Now, other things to note about this as well. Harima passive will affect the 25% ignore defense. It won't be able to stop this. It's, again, not a damage multiplication. It's a ignore defense modifier, so therefore that will affect him in this ability. So it's still incredibly strong, but those are the nuances. Helm Smasher, good to go. Harima passive will cause you problems. Rotus passive, you're going to go through it. Duchess passive, you're going to go through it. All of those things don't apply. But anything that modifies the defense, ignoring defense, that will work here. And then finally, we get Spirits Claim You. Attacks one enemy 2 times, increases the damage inflicted by this skill by 10% for every buff that I have, and 10% for every buff the enemy has, up to 5 buffs, 50% stack. If there are 3 buffs on the target, I place Block Revive, and then if Ankora's on the team, I get an extra turn if I kill that enemy. It doesn't have to be if you Block Revive, just if you kill them. Now, the base multiplier of this ability is 0.2. And the way that it works is it adds 0.02 for every buff that you have on you, and a 0.02 for every buff that is on the enemy. So essentially, if I have 5 buffs, the multiplier becomes a 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Attacking 2 times means it's a 0.8. Now, for context, Narses A2, which is his big single target nuking ability, which is the one thing that you get scared of at stage 19 more than anything in Soul Cross. This ability here, this will deal double damage when your attack is equal to or higher than this champion's attack, right? So if he's got a very low base attack, it's going to happen all the time. This is a 0.7. So a fully stacked out Narses will exceed the damage of a Narses A2. It will exceed it, but you need all of those buffs. In reality, the most easiest way to do this is to put 50% on you. So you have 5 buffs on yourself. That could be like a bolster. It could be a block debuffs. It could be like an increase attack, even though it doesn't do anything. The buff itself is valuable. That will get you to 0.1 bonus. So you take the 0.2, add the 0.1. It becomes a 0.6, which is a little bit less, right? Narses is 0.7, 0.6. But if you can get 5 buffs, it should significantly do quite a lot of damage. It hits twice as well. So at least the second hit will also go into Ultimate Death Knight teams. The first hit will get absorbed by Ultimate Death Knight. The second hit won't. Then we have this passive. This is actually kind of a niche but very useful passive. This champion will receive 50% less damage when attacked by enemies, including bosses and their minions, out of their active turn. What it means is ally attack, counter attack, joint attack. Those sorts of elements, he will receive 50% less. Now, if the queen's on the team, he takes no damage, which means if you attack someone, you don't quite kill them, but you trigger the counterattack masteries, they'll counterattack and deal no damage. They just won't touch him. It's actually very strong, especially for people in reaction. If you're fighting like a Jorgid, he's in reaction, he counterattacks you. He won't be able to then instantly one-shot you because he can't do any damage. He might on the next ability, but he won't on the counterattack, which is the big deal. Also, a 33% aura in all battles is very big. Really, really good base HP, 23,955. We'll have a little look at what Narses is. 1277 is a little bit low on the defense, but he is a HP champion. That's fine. 101 speed is serviceable. Very good. Let's just check Narses' base HP. What has Narses got? It's probably higher. It's actually lower. So he's got about near enough 2,000 base HP over Narses. That's quite big. 2,000 HP is big. And more base speed. So he has a little bit more over there. Now, obviously, you're going to be pairing him with Wight Queen Ankora because of all those effects that he gets. Just to cover the effects that Ankora does for him, we will do a specialist video on Ankora, but just for the sake of this, she will basically permanently decrease his cooldowns if she A1s on a 50% chance. I misread this originally. I thought it was if the king's on the team, it always does it. It's not. If you book it, it's a 50% chance. But if the king's on the team, there's a 50% chance it will always do the king. If the king has no abilities on cooldown, then it will pick a random champion. And then if it fully resets a skill, which is actually quite difficult to do on a 2-turn, it will heal that ally as well. The heal is largely irrelevant. And then the only other thing is if she revives Wight King Narses, she will give him 100% turn meter, which we know is not guaranteed turn. It means that it fills his turn meter. We know that when Sun Wukong revives, he doesn't always get a turn because it depends where you are in the turn meter sort of tiebreaker system. But it will mean that Wight King Narses comes back and she does reset his skills. So essentially, she revives him, he's going to get a turn, and then he's going to have all his abilities available. And she also decreases the turn meters of all enemies by 10%, increases to 20% without requiring accuracy. to do that. Now, the big thing about this is if he is on the team, this is the only thing that requires accuracy in her kit. So he does empower her quite a lot here. So he gets a full turn meter bar, drops the turn meters by 20%, which almost, it kind of guarantees he's going to get a turn because you do get a good bonus there. Like 20% turn meter should mean he wins the next tiebreaker. The only other thing, and then is this passive here becomes anytime that she starts her turn, she removes the CC. If you book it, which means that she just becomes immune to CC, which is very handy with a full cleanse on the A2, which also gives strengthen. So he does give a lot to Ankora, to be fair. He's taking the targeting for the A1, he's giving everyone a strengthen, and he gets a significant amount of turn meter and HP, and he also increases the turn meter count, and she becomes immune. So that's like the pairing. We will do a specialist video on Ankora. So let me take you into the build that I have put him in so far. Now, this gear is going to be high, right? You're going to see some very extremely strong builds because I've put all my best gear. He is now my #1 best nuker on my account alongside Rotus. There is no one else in competition. I don't have Taras, I don't have Marichka, I don't have Jorgids, Leorises, I don't have anyone else of the same caliber. So he has taken all of my best gear. Right now, he's actually in 5-piece lethal, and you're immediately going to be asking me why. I can see the comments already. Why is he in 5-piece lethal? Because I'm waiting on a pair of gloves that I need to dust. Because of the way that the system works now, I optimized him around gloves that I knew that I could put crit rate on, but I haven't got the dust yet to do it. So he's going to be taking these gloves here eventually once we change this attack to crit rate. That is going to give him the cruel set to give him 5% more ignore defense, which is very valuable. Once we glyph the HP here, the difference won't be so bad. You can see when I look at the comparison, he's losing 3.6k HP, but that's because, I've got an 8% glyph and 550 HP glyph on the current weapon he's wearing. He will lose a bit of speed, but we will find that by just glyphing up other pieces as well, which is absolutely fine to do so. But this will then give him the cruel set. We'll take away the 5-piece lethal, and that's, once we get some dust, that's what we will do. But I just don't have enough crit rate, and I don't want to run the risk of it. We all know that 99% crit rate builds are not good. So he is in lethal, eventually lethal cruel. We still have some improvements to make. We still need to dust this into crit damage. That is a problem. Ideally, this needs to be HP, not attack. This ring needs to be HP, not attack. Weapon, HP. Although these would be serviceable as defense to make him tanky, we would really want HP just to really index as much as we can. The chest is great. And then obviously the boots are also problematic. I would probably either go speed or HP here. It might be speed that I go just to make him faster because speed is still very good. When you see the stats, you'll see why. So in terms of this build here then, what have I got him in? I've got him in 1-piece reaction. I don't really have enough merciless accessories or anything of that nature. He's currently at 121,831 HP, 242 speed, 100% crit rate, 254% crit damage. But like I said, he's got 12% crit damage to come from the amulet. That'll push him up to 266% crit damage. We've got some more speed to come, and then we've got some adjustments in terms of the glyphin. He should end up around about 125,000 HP once I'm finished. I have near enough fully booked him, but I wanted to make sure I could get Ankora booked. Now, in terms of a blessing, because I've only got a 1-star, and if you haven't caught my collaboration with Big Papa Drock, big shout out to Big Papa Drock. It was a great kind of conversation we had. It really helped me. He knows far more about Arena than I could ever dream of at this point. We were talking about the different blessing options in there in more detail, but I've gone for Heavencast because at 1-star, I feel like the fact that he's going to be getting a lot of buffs pairs nicely with his A3. That's going to just at least give me a little bit of damage. If I get 5 buffs, it's going to give me 2.5% damage. It's better than what I can't really see any better option at 1-star. If I was to go up to 6-star, then my options open up. Polymorph absolutely at 6-star would be something I would 100% consider because it just is consistent. I would consider even things like Ward of the Fallen to make him very, very tanky so that I can actually activate that sort of bone armor and get it back. This doesn't really work until you get to 6-star. There's exceptions to the rule, like Rotus passive does funny things with bone armor. But apart from that, it's one of those, it's like crushing your end. Once you get 6-star, it's great. Before that, it's kind of meaningless. So I would absolutely consider either Ward of the Fallen, Polymorph. You could go crushing rend if you were using them outside of Arena, but in Arena, this is only going to give you like 6% ignore defense, but it is something I would consider as well, just trying to index more and more into ignore defense, because his A3 doesn't have any ignore defense, so every bit that you can add will improve that damage considerably. And a notable shout out, because I really love it. I love Life Harvest. I think it's really powerful. He will get so much turn meter that it will just dominate. His rotational ability, as you'll see in some fights in a minute, is very strong. and being able to take more turns will mean that you will win. That's just the nature of the beast. So absolutely could be very good here. Now, in terms of masteries, I've got a bit of a different build here, potentially than most would have. I normally would take Wisdom of Battle, normally. But because I'm pairing him with Ankora most of the time, outside of Live Arena, it's a bit different because you could get banned. But I'm pairing it with Ankora. It means that he's immune to the sleep debuff anyway because she will transfer the sleep debuff to herself. So Wisdom of Battle goes down in priority a little bit for me. We also have Bloodthirst here, which I think is better because every time he kills someone, he's going to heal, and his max HP is very big, so he's going to get big healing. It's going to help him. Improved parry is always desirable from an arena setting because you're going to get crit more often than not, so you get a higher reduction of damage compared to something like Blastproof, and we just take the resistance to make the path happen. Then we come down to delay death because there's nothing else. I will probably take Retribution as my final mastery here to activate his A1 to put things on cooldown. Now, in terms of offense, we have gone for Heart of Glory, single out, and bring it down. Too many people surprised because you would go, well, his A2 doesn't increase it. His A2 doesn't, but his A1 and his A3 does. So you absolutely still want to take them because what else are you going to take at this point? I've taken Whirlwind of Death. This is something I've started doing more now since that collaboration with Drock because you get free speed if you kill someone. If they don't kill everyone, then you start with 18 speed. That helps you. And Cycle of Violence is almost a must. You will activate it so often. He's got a 3-turn cooldown. You activate this, you're going to get back to that AoE quicker than you can even imagine. Blood Shield for HP-based champions is actually quite good. Because your HP is so large, I got 121,000. Essentially, if I kill someone, I'm going to get 15% of that, which is an 18,000 shield. It's very good. So I actually think it's quite good to add that in there. You could obviously take Deterrence if you wanted more A1 focus, or you could take Cycle of Revenge to get more turn meter. I just felt like for survivability, this paired with Bloodthirst will make him very hard to kill. We also take Kill Streak because we're going to kill people, which makes sense. And then, of course, Helm Smasher, because it will work on all of his abilities. It's absolutely dominant. It's well worth taking. So that's the build I've got him in. Obviously, there's lots of improvements to be having with Dust. That's my focus at the moment. Once I get more HP around these, it will improve. So let's take him for a spin in Classic Arena. I've worked a lot today to try and get myself up into a higher Classic Arena so we can try and find some more compelling teams to fight rather than these one-man defenses. I don't really want to fight triple ultimate death knight. That is like, this person needs like a talking to. Terrible. But we can pick something like this. This is a great example of a team that normally you would look at and go, that scares me. It's very difficult. It's a Truss, it's a Sify, there's an ultimate death knight. Very difficult to kill potentially. Let's see what this team can do. We're going to be running with Arbiter. You don't necessarily need Shu Zhen. I'm just learning. I'm practicing with Shu Zhen because I've just got her. You can absolutely use a Lissandra here, paired with your Arbiter. This doesn't need to be Arbiter. You could bring someone like an Elva, a Duchess, a Sify, another Reviver. I don't really need another DPS in Classic Arena because I know my Narses is going to do the job for me. Now, I have been practicing and pivoting with using Arbiter and Duchess. Here, I would probably consider using Duchess just because it's more secure. I know they're not going to be super fast. I could do that. If I didn't want to, if I just wanted to make sure that that Sify wasn't going to take a turn, I could. But he's put his Ultimate Death Knight in lead. That tells me it's not going to be a very fast team. Let's try it out with Duchess here because it just gives us more stability and more AoE protection if the Truss does get a turn. So 9 times out of 10 in Arena, you will fight situations where there is a shield. This instance, we haven't. So if there's no shield, that does mean he doesn't double hit. So this is like half of his damage potential. There's that polymorph coming out that I was talking about that could absolutely ruin your day. But we did get at least what we wanted here. And then we can bring in the AoE and we're going to double hit the Sify. We will single hit the Duchess. So there's that. That's the double hit going off there. We did get a bit of whack from Taras, but he did nothing to our team. The wonderful thing about a HP-based damage dealer is they're so easy to keep alive. So we can see right now, all our job is to try and finish off the Duchess before she revives the Sify. Normally, Shu Zhen would have granted an extra turn to my Wight King Narses, but she's a sheep, so she can't. Now, the nice thing about this ability here, this is where I was talking about the buff differences. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buffs. Now, I can only use 5 of them. So right now, I'm going to attack with a 0.3 from my contribution, and the enemy is going to give me 2 more buff bonuses. So that is going to put me up to a 0.34 double hit, which is a 0.68. Pretty much a Taras A2. The first hit won't hit her because Ultimate Death Knight, but the second hit will. And when we do that, we will kill someone and get an extra turn because Ankora's on the team, and we could A2 again. Now, there's no point me doing that because they both have Stone Skin, so I might as well try and start whittling them down bit by bit until we can actually kill him. Now, Taras has lost his Stone Skin, as an Ultimate Death Knight is continuing with his, so we're just going to kill off the Taras. They have no revive now, so we should just be able to finish them off. Take a little bit of time to do this. Taras is all out. The A1 is all he can do. He probably might kill Shuzhen. My Shuzhen is actually built quite tanky, even though she's at 330 speed, just for the sake of making sure she can stay alive. There's this extra turn we're going to get here now, so we can go in again with the AoE, kill off Taras, and this is pretty much done. We can let this run on auto. We just have to do what everyone else has to do in Arena, which is wait 100 years until Ultimate Death Knight finally decides to fall. But the cool thing with Ankora in the team as well is I'm getting a little bit of turn meter control. I'm getting lots of shielding and strengthening myself. It's very difficult to kill my team in this setup. This is when I would normally bring Duchess to make the team much tankier in that sense. And he is defeated. So we took down a pretty tanky team there. A Siphi, a Duchess. That's a 6-star polymorph there. That's probably why we got sheeped. Pretty easy to do. There's actually 3 polymorphs. This is a type of team you will face in high-end Arena. It's not as strong as the high-end Arena, but this is the type of team. Multiple polymorphs of High Awakening with a Siphi, Taras, Duchess combo, something of that nature. Duchess normally here would be Marichka. That would be how it would be at the top end. And we pretty much cleared it. So let's try this team here then. We are fighting a Wukong, very annoying. We're also fighting a Leoris, which can be very powerful if you let him get out of control. So we're going to A3 with Shuzhen. That's going to give us turn meter boost. Then we're going to use the A2 from Ankora. That's going to give us more turn meter boost. And now we're fully stacked up on buffs. We can either go in with the A3 or the A2. Remember, you need 3 buffs on the enemy to block revive the Wukong. It's not ideal to do that right now. So I'm just going to one-shot them and absolutely do crazy damage. Give myself an extra turn here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to kill the Kyoku so I don't have to deal with the block damage. And then I can finish off the Mikage. And you can see the rotational angle. Obviously, the Wukong's going to keep coming back, which is quite annoying. Got the reset on Narses' A1. We do take a whack, but that's not going to do any damage to us. We did lose him here. Now, we can actually test the revive. We can just kill him off here. There's that instant cleanse. We can revive him up, full turn meter, and he's just going to come in. And now we will get a block revive. And that is the power pairing. That is the power pick. Even if you kill Narses, as long as Ankora's alive, he's just going to get a turn and he's going to absolutely kill you again and keep doing so. So this fight, I'm going to give it a try. It could be quite difficult. They've got a lot of speed here. I'm going to try bringing in my Arbiter, which is quite fast. If I can't outpace the Warlord, I probably lose this because this is a full-blooded 6-star Ward of the Fallen Harima. That will absolutely wreck my team if I don't go first. We are not going to go first, but we do cut in, which is great. So we can actually just increase. We can't drop the turn meter to the Warlord. So what we could do is just give a turn to make sure we get a turn here and absolutely just bring out a nuke. But you can see the problem. If there's no strengthen and no shield, you will not have the damage to be able to do what you need to do here. And that is a bit of a concern. Now we have no abilities for a while, so this is the issue, and this team is going to absolutely wreck. So that's an example of what not to really fight. You can't really fight him into these types of teams if you were not going to be facing Bolster. You're just not going to get anywhere with that team because he needs to enable his double hit and you can't do so. Let's see if we can find some other teams because there was a lot of one-man defenses here, some variety that you might face along the way in your own arena. Let's try this team here. This is a typical arena team. This has got a Rotus, normally quite difficult to kill. Another 6-star polymorph. You'll see that a lot. If it's 6-star, it's going to be a polymorph almost all the time. So we can come in here. Now, the chances of me getting polymorph is only 25% if they've got fearsome presence. Let's see if it's going to happen. We didn't get polymorph, so that's great. And then we can just A through here. So what you'll notice here is normally Rotus, you can't one-shot. Another thing that Rotus has got is Ward of the Fallen. Ward of the Fallen is a damage-reducing multiplier. So this ability here, the A2, will ignore Ward of the Fallen completely. So when I one-shot this, he will just die if I actually had enough damage. But you can see I nearly killed him. But all we can do is give an extra turn here, and then I can finish it off and kill him. Get into back another turn, and because of Cycle of Violence, I was able to kill those. But you can see that you can completely bypass the Rotus passive with that ability, which is really, really powerful. And we managed to take him out here after waiting about 2 million years to kill the Ultimate Death Knight. So when you're facing Rotuses, you can just use that A2 freely. It will absolutely annihilate it. We could try this Owl Game YouTube. Could be quite challenging. There is a Mortu Macabre. Obviously with Mortu, you've got to be careful how many times you hit him because he will peril you. Now, I should have probably picked Duchess, not Arbiter here in hindsight, but we can absolutely hit. Now, here's a bolster, so it's great, which means we're going to double hit. We can go in and probably just absolutely take out Pythian. If there is a shield Narses will kill them. There is not much that really can stop a Narses when there is a shield. We can probably try and attack him, but again, we're just going to get the transfer of the target, so this is going to be difficult. There comes the peril. We've got to just try and get through these this stone skin. This is the nasty thing that you have to be careful of when it comes to Mortar Macabres. Now, because we can't revive here, not great, so we're just going to keep cycling here and keep going through this process. Now, fortunately, I can just continue to A1 at this point. I will be able to put his abilities on cooldown. He shouldn't have peril again unless I attack him again. So at this point now, he has probably lost because I can grant a turn, and then I can just finish them off. Any sort of shield. You can see there, pretty much Ultimate Death Knight survived because he's probably built full defense and nothing else. But then we can just follow up with that ability there. So as long as there's a bolster out, his A2 is going to do significant amounts of damage. It's really going to be a nightmare to face. We can use this ability here. Now there's a Torment on this team, which obviously you've got to be careful about. Now I could absolutely open with this. I'm just going to open with the A1 and then I'm going to do this. But hopefully I don't get frozen. I did, but it's not a problem because it's only the one that we don't worry about. Again, bolster doesn't stand a chance. Absolutely destroyed. We get that A1 reset. And this is kind of like the teams you're going to want to try and target. You're going to want to try and find teams that you think are probably going to have bolster or strengthen. It's perfectly built to fight Taras and Marichka because Marichka is going to do a strengthen all the time. It's perfectly built for it. So you can see these types of teams of Taras. I'm not finding the Marichka teams because I just probably not high enough rank. But anything with the Taras Marichka, it's going to be very good. This one here, we're probably not going to go first. But if we pick the Duchess, I don't think it can one-shot us. I don't think it's got. We are going to go first, so that means we can actually drop turn meter. We get polymorphed. It's not a problem because we've achieved what we needed to do, which was to go first, and then we could just finish off here. And it's only because Taras is passive that he's been able to survive. But it doesn't really matter because Taras without those buffs is never going to be able to kill me. I'm too tanky for this. So we should just be able to finish him off in the next ability here with this A3. One-shot him, take him out. So those types of tank teams, it's not really kind of sensible to put Arbiter with Taras, but some people do. He's just going to one-shot. So that is how you approach it. He's very good into bolster teams, very good to go second teams, very tanky teams. He might struggle against teams if there's no shield. That could potentially hurt you. Very good into Rotus. We can see this team here. Very good. This will be perfect to fight into this team because normally it would be a nightmare because you can't target Rotus. You know he's going to take... it's going to be a very long time before you can kill him because of his passive. You're going to activate it. Is he going to go on... Are you going to get Rotus is what I like to call it when he basically goes on a run. We don't have to worry about that because it's just a one-shot. It's absolutely insane. Now, in terms of Tag Team Arena, that team I've shown you can work in Tag Team is exactly the same. Now, Live Arena, I don't like to do on VODs because it's very difficult to find the right matchup. And 9 times out of 10, if I put it into Live Arena, I'm probably going to get permabanned all the time. It'll just ban it out and it would be bad for the video. But if you watch yesterday's live stream, we live streamed it yesterday and I did a very good amount of Live Arena with him. So you can see how I use him in Live Arena and how I protect him from getting banned and how I'm pairing him up with different options as well. Because I'm in gold Live Arena right now, so it means that, you know, if they pick Ankora, Narses is out of the question. Sometimes I can pick Narses to stop them getting the pairing. It saves me having to ban because on his own, he's good enough, right? Even without Ankora, he's good enough. I can probably find any team in this list, and without Ankora, he will do it. Let's fight this team down here with Elva. Let's take out Ankora. So let's bring in Elva. Similar champion, has a single target revive, has some sort of buffs with it. This one's a bit more of a cleanser. Kind of a bit weird to put it with Duchess, if I'm being honest. But if I take away Duchess and put in Arbiter, because I don't want to double Veil. The problem you have with Elva and Duchess, you put Veil up on everyone, so therefore you kind of defeat the point of having Veil on 3 of the 4 people. So we're going to use Arbiter here just to basically set this up. You'll see, even without Ankora, he does a very good job. We do have lots of Stone Skin here, which is a bit frustrating, but, you know, we'll endure with what we've got. We'll put that out here, and then even without this, it's still going to do quite a good amount of damage. Then we're just going to kill off Lydia, hopefully. It's going to probably be a revive with just hopefully kill out the guy again, get an extra turn. We don't get the extra turn. That's the thing you will lose with not having Ankora here. You didn't get the extra turn, which normally I would have done. But obviously there's still a revive to come. It could be difficult with the amount of protection. We have to wait forever to be able to stop this Ultimate Death Knight from just constantly reviving the Wukong. I've got a lot of debuffs on me. That's a very strong Wukong. Bit of a cleansing set there. So we can now grant a turn with Shu Zhen here and then hopefully finish them off because now there's a shield. And that is just as good. He works just as good. That was a difficult team to fight as well because you had the Sun Wukong reviving with the ultimate Death Knight. So even if you didn't go for the fusion, you went for Narses, he's still very valuable in the arena. And I'm fighting some of these tankier teams, right? I'm quite up high in gold 5 at the moment. So yeah, so there you go, guys. That is Wight King Narses in the arena. That's how you set him up. Look for teams with bolster. Look for teams with those strengthened champions, like very, very good into Mithrala teams, because you know you're going to get a shield and a strengthen off that A3. Look for teams where you know you can either get some good cycling of buffs. If there's a heavy buff team, then his A3 becomes very valuable because you can block revive their win condition and move on, win the fight. His A2 will do lots of damage. Make sure you build Helm Smasher. That is absolutely the way that I would use him. Using Helm Smasher Masteries. Build him for the HP. Definitely go for ignore defense sets. You want to try and get this ignoring as much defense as you can. And yeah, that is Wight King Narses, an absolute arena machine. I will do a video now on Wight Queen Ankora, and I will use him in sort of PvE content, and that's where I'll kind of have a look at him in terms of how good is he from a PvE standpoint. But I wanted to focus exclusively on the arena because that is where I think like 90% of you are going to be using him more than anything else. That's his specialty. So let me know in the comments below, guys, how are you using your Wight King Narses if you've got him? Let me know what other champions you're pairing with Wight King Narses and kind of like what combinations are you using? How are you finding him in live arena? Are you getting banned out permanently? I'd imagine that's what, you know, a lot of people will experience. And as always, guys, if you want to see more content from me, more champion guides, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. All of my videos then will come live into your feed the moment they get published. And make sure you hang out on my live streams if you want to sort of hang out, discuss raid, if you have questions, if you want some advice. We often do a lot of tag team coaching. I will be doing a bit more arena content more now that I've got some arena champions, just because I feel like I need to climb the live arena ladder and get some era bonuses for my Hydra team. So that's what we will be doing. But yeah, Wight King Narses, an absolute machine in the arena. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.